Hello, I'm Lucky Jide Saru, and welcome to Nigerian Real Podcast. With me today is Tope Abulude, a multi-award winning certified balloon artist who is also a sought-after Qualitex approved instructor. I really don't know what Qualitex is, so he's going to explain all that to me. He's a World Balloon Convention instructor and an event decorator. He has attended various balloon events around the world, such as the European Balloon Symposium and the World Balloon Convention. Tope has been in the business for over 20 years. Tope, welcome to Nigerian Real Podcast.
Thank you very much for having me.
What exactly is Qualitex? You being a Qualitex approved instructor, what is that all about?
Well, the Qualitex balloon is the best balloon manufacturer in the world.
Okay.
And they provide a really a very good program for learning and education, and that's why I'm a member of. And I've worked with them hand in hand as partners with them for years now.
Okay. Okay. You know, when I was compiling a list of people I was going to have on my podcast, your name just came up immediately because you have blown me away with your designs, your creativity. But how on earth did you get into being a balloon artist or a balloon designer? If I'm right, correct me if I'm wrong. You're an architect by training.
That's my background.
That's your background. So how did you get into becoming a balloon artist?
You know, Jude, that question comes up at every interview I have.
So this is not a unique question.
So yes.
So do you have a ready-made answer for that?
Pretty much. It started as a hobby while I was in university. But I think there's a little bit of a cheat in my with what I do, because obviously architecture is studying 6 years of design. Okay. So bringing that into balloon art sort of makes my work a little bit different, if you like, from a creative perspective, because things like the principles and elements of design just come naturally to me. It's just something I do. I don't have to relearn it, or it just comes naturally when I'm working.
How far back did you recognize you had the creativity?
That's what took me into architecture. So I've always sort of had a design inclination in me.
Okay, so I would say that you decided to branch into the balloon aspect when you were an adult?
Correct. I started, like I said, when I was in university.
Okay.
I would do most things, arty. Then it was University of Lagos, and started out making handmade cards.
Okay.
And then at some point, I ventured a little bit into selling potted plants. Just anyway to make money, and then gradually got introduced into decorating for weddings by my then roommate.
Okay.
And when I came to live in England about 23 years ago, I went to my first wedding. I saw balloons, and I thought, oh, this is interesting. I bet I could do a thing or two with this. And then, usually when I see things like that, I try to find out how to get education about them, so that I can, place myself well to succeed.
Okay. Cast your mind back to when you were young. Would your parents have approved of you becoming a balloon artist?
Put it this way, I don't think I told my dad the first
that you are living architecture too.
No, I don't even think I knew I was doing that, as in living architecture. It was just something that ran concurrently with what I was doing then. But yeah, I think I didn't tell him immediately that was what I was going to do full time.
So at what point did you tell him? At what point did you reveal to him that this is that?
I think,
Guess what? I'm no longer an architect.
yeah.
This is I'm now a balloon artist.
As you know, 6 years of study
Yes.
basically meant my father paying for my education and all.
And you are dumping that now.
Yes, but yeah, I think probably about 2, 3 years into it, and when the accolades and the awards started coming in, it was easier to then say, "Dad, you know what? Yeah, this is happening."
Can anyone become a balloon artist? How would you talk about how would you recognize that a youngster has the skills to become a balloon artist?
Um, I think what's important is to be passionate about whatever you want to do. I teach quite a lot of people, and once in a while you can sort of spot, talent. Um, I think like every sort of creative industry, you know you spot 1 in 10, one in 20. But I've always been a believer that if you set your mind to it, you can do it. But I think it's important to have that creative inclination. It's just like saying, be a fashion designer, or you need something to start with, something to work with.
Okay. You mentioned education.
Yeah.
So obviously this is not a profession where you can be self-taught, is it?
These days, you can learn a lot on YouTube, on the internet.
You can?
You can.
Even balloon?
Yes. Yeah. You'll be
Really?
surprised how much material you can get from studying on YouTube. However, nothing beats actually having someone teach you. Um, there are everything else. If you go on YouTube, you don't know what's good or bad. You can learn bad habits. You can pick up bad habits pretty quick. But I think just there are enough sort of conventions around the world that you could attend to learn from qualified teachers.
Is it expensive to learn? Are the courses expensive?
I wouldn't say so. I think for what you get out of them, I mean, you've got to think about what's coming out. I mean, uh, after you have learned what you can use it for. Um, I remember I think the second ever convention I went for was in Chicago, about 20. So I'm telling my age now, aren't I? About 20 something odd years
Okay.
ago. And in real terms, I couldn't afford it. But what I got out of it more than paid for, the sacrifice I made at the point.
So it's all about investing in yourself.
Yeah, that's a word, investment.
I know you've attended so many conventions, all over the world. I know that you're also an instructor at the World, is it convention,
Yeah,
World Balloon Convention?
the World Balloon Convention this year. I'm
yeah.
going to be teaching there, and I'm also been designated to design one of the centerpieces for one of the parties.
Is that the first time you've been invited?
No, I've done this. The last one was 2 years ago. I did a circus theme party for the Thursday night, which is like the costume party. No, actually, I lied. That was 4 years ago.
4 years ago?
4 years ago, yeah. I did that. 2 years ago, because it's 2 yearly. 2 years ago, I designed the table centerpieces for the final night party, which is quite a prestigious get, if you like. The theme for that was fire and ice. Yeah,
so take me through this. How do you get your ideas? How do you When you attend one of these conventions, do they actually, okay, they tell you the theme.
Yes.
So just run it by me. Where do you get the initial, the initial inspiration from, on how to design? Are there anything too difficult for you to design with balloons, so to say?
Where do you get inspiration? Everywhere. I get inspiration from nature. I get inspiration from dreams. I get inspiration. I get inspired. I could look at what you're wearing and think, oh, actually, I didn't think blue and black could work this well. Perhaps, you, I look at Google, images over and over again. But sometimes, actually, when I look on things that are already done, it's mostly to stay away from them, if you like. Does that make sense?
Okay, it
Yeah,
does. It does. It's just like a musician, for
yeah,
instance. Listening to music
yeah.
for you to have that originality.
Yes, you
Yeah.
step away from
Okay.
it. So sometimes, I learned this from a gentleman years and years ago. He said to me, "You have a theme to do something. Write down your first 10 ideas, and then trash them." You know, and I quite liked. It just resonated with
Write
me. I
down
quite
your
liked
first
that.
10
Yeah,
ideas and trash them.
yeah, because those first 10 are probably what everyone's gonna be thinking.
Ooh, so you have to trash those, and then you have to now go
Go
deep.
deeper. You have to dig deeper. It's
I
interesting
like
because
that.
I teach that as well.
I like that.
It's like if I ask you to sketch something now, your 10th attempt will be better than your first. But you could very well have stayed with your first. You would never know what 10 look like. So
So I kind of guess you push yourself
you have to push yourself. You have to dig deeper than the surface
for you to be different from the rest.
for the difference to come.
Because the challenge is, especially now that you're becoming a regular at the world conventions, for you not to produce what you had
What
produced
you've
the
done
previous.
before, what your students are doing, it's yeah, you have to dig further.
Okay. Do you shock yourself after working on a piece when after it's all done, and then you take a look and say, did I really do that?
In a way, that sounds conceited, if you know what I mean. No, I think I'm my own greatest critic. I
Okay.
look at it and start taking it apart. Actually, I look at it and think, okay, that could have been better, or what would have happened if I'd used this there, and yeah. So I don't know if I don't. That's my process. I look at it and I keep thinking I could have done that better. That could be a little bit taller. And I think in a way that's how I get better, because the next time I do it, whether I'm then selling it to a client, because my designs for, the World Balloon Convention is attended by roughly about 1,000 artists, from all over the world. So every time I go and produce a design there, I've got to be bringing my A game, because I've got students, people I have taught over the years in various countries, sort of waiting to come and pick up new ideas. So it can't be something that I have either shown before, done for a client. So it's the other way around. I would design there, and then I could sell the design.
So at what point do you say to yourself, okay, I've put in my best here. I think this will suffer. So let me present.
Sometimes
Because yourself,
yeah,
you.
yeah. Sometimes it's the deadline.
Wow.
So we work a lot to really strict deadlines, and you work to your deadline.
So talking about deadline,
Yeah.
I would have to bring in an aspect that I know it could be a pet hate of yours as well. Timing. How do you keep to
Oh
time?
yes.
I know
Well,
you were telling me a story about your pet hate.
yes, yes.
I'm sure my listeners and people that view on YouTube will love to hear that story.
Okay, lots of people are gonna have different ideas about this, but I have a pet hate. It's people who are late. You know.
So
I,
sorry for cutting you.
yeah.
there's something that is well known in Africa called African time. How do you relate to that?
I don't. I don't. My friends know me, and I've had to work on myself not to let that um, that African time take me to places that are not necessarily my prettiest places, if that makes sense.
I do.
Um, I think if I'm going to do business with you, if you perpetually turn up late, I won't do business with you.
Period.
Yeah, I just won't. I won't go there.
So
I
how,
would try it the first time. If you turn up late, it's not so much just the turning up late. It's the fact that I think it's very disrespectful in any relationship, whether it's personal or professional, to not honor time, because if I can be bothered to get there before time, and more often than not I will be there before time.
you were very early today, so I really
Thank
appreciate that.
you. Thank you very much. I expect, yeah, something could happen, but I think most of the time, if you're going to be late, about 15 minutes before the time, half an hour before the time, you actually realize you're going to be late. In this day and age, you can send a text message. WhatsApp doesn't cost any money. Just to say, running late, will tell you when I get there.
And if that doesn't come forth,
I would leave. If I have an appointment with you and you're 15 minutes late and I don't hear from you, I would leave. And it's just, in a way, I'm also protecting myself and the relationship, because what happens is that I get really quite upset and really, and when I then see you, I would really tell you how I feel, which will not be pleasant to you. So, but if I have left, then I don't feel like I've.
so after you've left, and most times our African friends do not see any big deal about coming late. You obviously is your pet hate, so you leave when the client or who you're having an appointment with runs late. Do they come back to ask why you left, and what is your response
What's
to
my
them?
response? I would say to them, I feel like I deserved. You should have sent me a message, let me know you were running late, or something like that, and I'm happy to reschedule on my terms. So if he was a client, actually, interestingly, most of my friends are now, they over the years they know, and they wouldn't, my close friends wouldn't turn up late for an appointment with me, or then let me know they were running late. So it's a kind of thing with my close friends.
I think we share that we have that in common, because I keep to time. I remember a time when I was working for a top pharmaceutical company, and I get to the venue quite early. What I normally do is I get there sometimes even 1 hour earlier, stay in the car,
Absolutely, yeah.
stay in the car, 15 minutes to time, and then, get up, get out of the car, go to the venue, and go to the toilet, and tidy up myself. So there was this instant when it was a big meeting. I remember the top boss was due to attend the meeting, and hey, I was running late, and obviously I'd told them beforehand, like 30 minutes beforehand, that I was running late. But the traffic on that day on one of the motorways, M25 or so, M1, was terrible. Guess what? They waited for me because they said he always comes early.
Early.
So that was a good message.
So you can imagine, I work in the events industry, and you hired me to do a party, and I'm sort of still there or pulling things around when your guests arrive. How embarrassing would that be? I sorry, I just can't stand tardiness. It's And another friend of mine made a comment once on Facebook, and he said something. A lot of your photographs, when you've done an event, they don't have people in them, and that told me that you're finished a long time before the guests arrive.
Wow.
And I just never saw that quite like that, and you know, that just made me feel good too.
That is fantastic. So, what inspires you to succeed?
Ah, in a way, I didn't sort of set out planning to succeed, if that makes sense. That's not. That's never been my drive.
Okay.
You know.
So, what's your drive then? What drives you?
Passion, love, kindness, making someone happy. You know, you'd agree with me. You know, making a really nice creation makes people smile. So what more can I want?
And I bet you have repeat
Customers. Yeah. That.
So you know, on the equation, what does money come into this? Because you've mentioned happiness, you've mentioned, you know, customer satisfaction. The reason why I say where does money come into this is because in Africa, money plays a major role to the detriment of so many things.
Yeah.
I would go as far as saying that in Nigeria, to be specific, a lot of people will worship money to the detriment of their skills and you know their gifts, their creativity. Where does money come? What role does it play in
I've
the
always
scheme of things?
felt like if you chase money, it's always going to be elusive.
Wow.
That's my you know, that's what I think. If you chase what you love doing, that passion will sustain you, and the money will come because the plan is to excel and do well with what I'm doing. You know, I don't do it because I want to get there, because it will come through if I'm dealing with a customer and all I want is your money. You'll know it. It's just something there that just feels desperate, that feels, you know, and you can't be real. On the other hand, if I can convince you that I am in here for a win-win situation where I create something, you know, really beautiful for you, and you're happy to pay me what I ask you, I find a lot of people are happy to pay me more than my competitors, not because they know that I'm you know, a few extra pounds more expensive than your average, but it's the relationship, and that for me has, I think, you know, for me is the center of everything I do. It's relationship.
See, Nigerian Real is all about highlighting the attitude and mindset of my guests. Where did this attitude and mindset come from? How far back have you had this?
I'd say a lot is down to the way my parents raised me. I think, you know, that's you know, yeah. I think a lot is down to that, and then I start finding out these are grounded in Christian principles, and that's you know, that's formed the foundation of who I am. You know, I can't honestly want to cheat you out of money. Rather, I would leave a venue having put in more than we agreed. You know, so there's something there about giving, about, you know, emptying yourself out.
Wow, that is you know, interesting. What would you say your success habits are?
Ooh. Success habits. I'm not quite sure how to answer that question because, yeah, I think.
Well, I could give you one, for instance.
Yeah.
Keeping to time.
Okay. Yeah.
That is one.
Yeah.
because it's all about from what I've been able to get, to get from you. You are all about adding value.
I like that.
You're all about adding value, and I've always said that where you add value, money will pursue you. That is what your proudest moment.
I have been blessed beyond
What does that mean?
my wildest imaginations. I have had accolades that I would never have thought. That wasn't planned. They just weren't planned. I have had the opportunity to travel to places that wouldn't have featured on my bucket list. So proudest moments. I'd say my family to start with. To be honest with you, I think my family they make me proud. My kids make me proud. My wife is I can't imagine me married to anyone else.
Supportive.
Yes, she's very supportive. I mean, I up and go all over
Travel
the
a lot.
world, and she's there, and she's got my back, and she's the one who does all the not so interesting things, and I'm the one that sort of stays in front of it all.
Behind the scenes, and
behind
that's
the scenes.
that's what matters.
So,
matters a lot.
in addition to that, I've won quite a few awards, and
Name one award that you've won.
okay, I've won the International Balloon Arts Convention Designer of the Year. And that's as high as you get in this industry.
Wow.
Those have then led to being asked around the world to teach because,
That's on your CV.
Here.
So
yeah.
wow, that's interesting. If you could put any quote on your T-shirt, what would that be?
Wow.
I love to see Tope approaching, and I just see him in a white or black T-shirt or an orange T-shirt.
Yeah, saying something.
Saying something.
Okay.
Something that that would describe you.
Make the most of every second.
Make the most of every second.
Yeah, make the most of every second.
Is it,
Love, dance, smile. It's all down to you. No one can make you feel. Just find what makes you. What makes you really? What makes you who God has called you to be? I think.
You believe everybody has a gift?
I believe everyone has the potential to be successful. I know I referred to my dad earlier. One of the things he said to me growing up was, if it doesn't matter what you want to do, and I think this has informed how I eventually turned out. It doesn't matter whatever you want to do. Just make sure you do it so well. And he made an example and said, if you're going to be sweeping the floors, make sure you do it so well. If there was an invitation to sweep for the topmost person in the world, you should be on the short list. And that for me made it easier when I was making the transition, because if I wanted the money, I could have stayed in architecture. I could have stayed in architecture. Get a job, it'll be 9 to 5, and be well paid.
Can you see yourself going back to a 9 to 5 job?
I'm a bit of a wild, a free
spirit.
Free spirit, yeah. To using that loosely. I am. Yeah, it'd be difficult to tame me. Yeah, to harness me would be quite challenging.
What do you want your legacy to be?
Oh, these difficult questions. What do I want my legacy to be? In so many, as an entrepreneur, as a dad, as a friend. I think we're going to have to answer that question in the second part of this interview.
Excellent.
I'm going to have to think about that. I'm too
Brilliant.
busy living to think about, a legacy at the moment.
I like that. I like that.
That'll be my homework today.
I like that. That's a good answer. That is a good answer. Okay. I'm sure by the time this goes out, there'll be some people that are creative and will look into in the direction of becoming a balloon artist. What advice would you give a beginner, or what advice would you give someone who's looking to become a balloon artist?
I'd say go and get some education, and when you're doing that, don't compromise on where you're getting it from, because the foundation is very important. In everything you do. If you start right, you learn from the right source. It just saves you a whole multitude of headaches in the future. So get the education and start.
Okay. Finally, I normally ask this question, as a final question. What advice would you give a 20-year-old Tope Abulude?
It doesn't matter what people think about you.
It doesn't matter what people
think about you. I think we go around too much caring about what people think and say. I think, but in a way, as you get older, I don't know, how does that feel for you? Where you are now, how do you feel about doing stuff?
Oh, you just do it.
You just do it. Yeah.
I say I just start.
Yeah. And there's something about experiencing life at that when you're 20. And I don't know that too many people tell you that. Do you know what? It's okay to make mistakes.
Brilliant. It's okay to make mistakes.
It's okay to make mistakes.
Tope, absolutely brilliant. There's going to obviously you're going to come back. You're going to come back because I know that.
Thank you for having me.
I'm looking at time.
I can't believe that it's gone that quick.
Tope, thank you so much for coming on to Nigerian Real podcast. Definitely, guys. I'm going to have Tope back, and I'm sure I'll be able to extract more success nuggets from him.
It's
a pleasure. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Brilliant.